over 5,000 African women applied for that role.
Wow.
And only 32 of us were taken. And 7 of us were posted to New York.
Wow.
So after I gave my life to Christ, I was a bit lost. There was that pressure of, performing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it led me to a path of religiosity.
Yeah.
It was more about meeting society's expectations than actually knowing God for myself. I just started having a desire to go specifically to the UK. I find it hard to do the applications because it's so rigorous, competitive and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, pray about it, pray about everything. I just check my tablet and I see an email from the uni, congratulations, you've been admitted.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, I know this is God. I was in a bubble. I was like, mnabaki Kenya, you're the ones to be strong. This was also my first time living away from home. And the enemy will put lies in my mind, you can do anything, no one will know.
Yeah.
You're far from home. Jiwachilie. People go to the West and they, life shatters them.
Yeah.
And they forget that they're ambassadors of Christ.
Yeah.
So what does it profit me to come here, gain a world-class education, and then go back home without the very essence of life, and that is Jesus.
Yeah.
I think we should be equipped enough to know that the gospel, people need Christ more than you need to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me also what living in the West has done for me, it has redefined what true riches are, because the material will fail eventually.
Yeah.
So for me nowadays, I don't look at these opportunities as the end in themselves. For me, they are doors to access people that Jesus is trying to reach and to bring out of the kingdom of darkness.
That's such a good perspective.
Yeah.
Such a good perspective.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up, good people, man? First, thank you so much for always joining us for the DJ Moz Podcast. We do not take it for granted, man. I'm always excited to be able to have wonderful guests joining me for conversations. People who are known, other people who are not known, but they are known in their circles. And, just being able to have genuine, honest conversations with them. So, man, as you continue digging in and enjoying the podcast, we'd like to encourage you to go ahead and support us, man. This is only possible through your love and through your support. Pray for us, talk about us, but then also you can go ahead and, go a step further and support us financially. And you can do that by, our account number and the till number. They're all, is it till number? No, the pay bill number and the account numbers ziko hapa hivi, si ndio? Please do go ahead and support us financially, because this encourages us, allows us to be able to pay our bills and to continue hooking you up with more great content, si ndio? Thank you so much for your love. In the meantime, man, let's continue in our conversations today hapa hivi on the DJ Moz Podcast. How was you going to boarding school at such a young age, 11, 12 years old?
I want, for some reason, some friends from BD had gone to boarding school.
Yeah.
And they came home and they lied to us how it's all vibes and it's easy. When I got there, that life was not easy at all.
Oh, man. Or maybe their school was different.
But at that time, I was really struggling in school. So I thought going to boarding school would help me.
Yeah.
No, we actually went to their school.
The same school. They were saying that has vibes.
It was a lie. We used to wake up early. It was just so different away from my parents.
Yeah.
And I struggled, but I couldn't admit it.
Yeah.
So both me and my sister, we went to boarding school at the same time, and she hates me for that, because I said I want to go to boarding school and we're only 1 year apart.
Yeah.
So let's take them both. They're a package. So for her, I remember the first time when my parents came to school, she was in tears. For me, I was holding them. Because I wanted this for myself.
Yeah. So
I cannot look, I can't show them.
Yeah.
But it was hard. It was really hard. But it's interesting. I feel like God is always prepared. God sees the beginning from the end.
Yeah.
So those experiences, they helped me when now, later on, I went abroad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, that was my first time in because high school was not too bad when I went to high school, Form 1.
Yeah.
But boarding school,
yeah,
that was really hard.
I want to say, and I think you wanted to say that God knows the end from the beginning.
Yeah, what did I say?
Ivo vingine.
Yeah, Ivo vingine. Oh, the end from the beginning. Yes.
So, I mean, you've gone to primary, to boarding at age 11 or 12. It's something that you wanted. Then you realize it's not what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
You've dragged your sister along.
Mm-hmm.
Does she still hold it against you today?
Yeah, she does. She does. And my parents repeated the same mistake in that I went to high school.
Yeah.
Then she followed me in the same school.
Oh,
And at some point she was like, no way.
man.
She was like, this is not happening. So she rebelled until for her, she was transferred.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not going to the same school with my sis.
No, she was like, I'm not doing this
Did
again.
she stay in boarding school or did she go to a day school now?
No, she went to a boarding school, but a better one. I stayed in Nakuru. She went to like Nairobi. Easy life. Easier than
soft
mine.
life, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say softer life than what it is that you're having.
Yeah, and maybe something else
Mm-hmm.
that I'll always be grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in boarding school, like we had something called, I think, preps. Like you would wake up early in the morning, but we used to have prayers, I think, consistently every day in my school from like, is it 6 to 7 or 7 to 8?
Yeah.
So we'd sing hymns, pray like every day.
Yeah.
So even that for me right now, like looking back, I see God's hand.
Yeah.
And I see him, because BD was not like that at all. And I see even how that shaped me.
Yeah.
To just have like bits of God
Yeah.
that I will, and also just the loneliness in the boarding school. It caused me to learn how to pray and to cry out to God in that kind of wilderness season.
Yeah.
So all those things, they shaped me.
So you went to high school in an all-girls school.
Yeah.
And I mean, I normally find it as though it's easier for girls to be able to connect and to relate. But you're saying that, you know, in that space that you're also lonely.
So the boarding school, but it was also a gut.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very strange. And we were from Eastlands.
Yeah.
And I think most people who went to that school. So my parents are very invested in education. So when it comes to school, they'll take us to the best and the best.
Yeah.
Hizo zingine za, my dad used to make this joke. I've already bought for you a Mac. Just go and get it. I'm like, you know, Dad, buy a car. No, I've already bought it for you through education.
Yeah.
And of course, now I look back and it makes sense. Yeah, because education opens doors. I've seen that in my life. Yeah. So we were living in Buru and we went to a very high-cost primary school. So even just the people, it was very different for me. Yeah, the exposure was very different. Yeah.
And are both your parents into academics?
Yeah, and that's well, my mom is a teacher and my dad was an accountant. But the thing that if you just say in our house you want to do ngambiwa chukua was school. Yeah, like they were very passionate about school and they believe. And my grandfather was also like that. He was a visionary. He knew that education can open doors that like nothing else can. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
So you've gone to BD, then you've gone to the boarding school in Gilgil.
Yes.
Then you've gone to another boarding school in
Nakuru. So Nakuru is now it was a national school, but a public school.
Yeah.
So again, so you BD, Gilgil, then Nakuru again. It was just that was also.
So did Nakuru feel like the trenches for you?
It didn't feel like the trenches, but for some reason, maybe my classmates will hear me right now and be like, she's pretending, because all the time in school I used to complain.
Yeah.
But for me, Nakuru was much easier. Like life was easier than Gilgil to me. Yeah. But of course, Gilgil was more fancy and all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you finished, you got to go to Strathmore. What did you study at Strathmore?
BCom, finance and marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why was that something that you were always passionate about?
No. My dad was in finance.
I guess
and
he's
I
an
wanted
accountant.
to be like my dad.
Uh-huh.
And I went to Strathmore and did finance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would have been your choice if you didn't have to do finance?
Interesting. Maybe theology. Maybe theology. Yeah, maybe arts, painting, which is something I've just started loving in the recent, like 2024, just very recently.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe that.
Because I ask you that because I have quite a good number of friends who went to uni and they did what their parents wanted them to do.
Yeah.
Or they wanted to, basically, let me just fulfill my parents' dreams.
Yeah. No, for me, I don't think it's what my parents want. It's what I wanted. I was like, I just want to do what my dad did. But when we got to third year, fourth year, my friends were like, you're not a finance girl. Like you're more marketing. Your personality is marketing. But I was like, since I came to this university for finance, I must graduate in finance.
Yeah.
So I took up a double major and I did marketing as well. And yeah, I'm so glad I did, because I think I did my internship when we were in third year.
Yeah.
And the office life was not lifing for me.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was I found it boring at that time. Like it was just too rigid. Like I was not talking to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but marketing gave me that opportunity to interact.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because marketing allows you to be able to explore, to get out of your space, create great opportunities for you to be able to connect either your organization, you're trying to sell your organization out there, or the products that you're having, and like being in a finance, so you're just looking at numbers. But
yeah,
but the guys who love it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not me.
So in Strath,
Yeah.
what are some of the key highlights for you? Because I know after Strath, you got the chance now to go and do your master's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, let me start by, I got born again in high school.
Yeah.
In Nakuru Girls. And that's something I'll always appreciate about our school.
Yeah.
That even though we were like I think we were such a hard lot now that I look back.
Yeah.
Like our principal was very consistent. She ensured that, we had people coming in, just the CUs and all that. So it did something to me. Yeah. So, because I was lost. I was lost. And even after I found Christ, I'm not saying that I became perfect.
Yeah.
But I knew that something had changed in my heart. Yeah. Something was different. And something I always talk about is how I was not discipled. Like there was no discipleship.
Yeah.
So after I gave my life to Christ, I was a bit lost. And
What
I think
next?
that costed me a lot, because even in school, people are like, umeokoka na bado unaendelea, you cannot, so you're also tainting the Christianity.
So there's already an expectation that people have.
I was on that side, then I say I'm born again.
Yeah.
So people are like, okay, let's wait and see. Are you really born again?
Yeah.
So there was that pressure of, performing. And I think it led me to a path of religiosity.
Yeah.
So it was more about meeting society's expectations than actually knowing God for myself. Yes, I would pray. Yes, I would go to him when I was in trouble, but I didn't really know him. Yeah. And I didn't know how to know him. Yeah.
So at what point did it become very real for you that the decision I've made in high school, that this is actually something, this relationship needs to be a true relationship and not one where I'm saying,
Actually, after Strath, because even when I was in Strath, I knew, okay, now I'm going to uni, and these are the do's and these are the don'ts. That's how I knew faith to be. That's what I thought faith was about. And yes, like God helped me. There are things I didn't succumb to, because there was a lot of pressure in uni, just like, every other uni. And I was able to stand my ground on some things. And it also landed me in like people misunderstood me because of that.
Yeah.
And as Christians, I think even Peter, like when you read the Bible, we are equipped to suffer for standing for the truth.
Yeah.
So I think that was the first time I experienced it. But also later in life, I realized that my approach was not the best. I wish I had more gentleness. I wish I knew how to disciple others. Yeah, but even I didn't have that kind of relationship with God. My relationship was go to school, go to the chapel, pray. At that time, I was so confused. You take a bit of holy water. Then, so it was more like, God, I just need you to help me to get through school.
Yeah.
But I don't really know you one-to-one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying in Strath, after Strath, that's where now your faith became.
Yeah, because in uni, and I think this is something that has happened in my life consistently. I think I consider myself extra relational. I think every human being is relational.
Yeah.
But I consider myself extra. So by that, what I mean by that is depending on friends for identity or for security. So I was in this, group of friends and we read together. Like we did life together, life together. And we had many, like I can never delete that experience and say that it was all negative. No. Like being in groups had its benefits. Like there are things you can't accomplish on your own as an individual. And for me, academically, I was lucky because God connected me to the right people and they really helped to build me up in that area. But now, like life values, many people in uni, well, with the many people I was working with, I don't think they knew where they stood.
Yeah.
Like, let's go this side, we're going, let's go that side, we're going. So we had a very bad fallout with my friends and I was at the center of it. And I was so affected. Like, because I knew these were my people for life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done.
These
No
are
new
ride or
friends.
die.
It's
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these are real issues that people go through in uni. I don't know if men go through them a lot, but
no.
For girls,
Jamas don't.
It was so bad. It was so
I mean,
bad.
it's the same for Jamas as well.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's the same. Yeah.
I mean, it's relationships, Jamas also get heartbroken and you get caught up in that crew of friends.
Yes.
And when things fall apart, but I think we tend to reconcile easier.
Okay.
We don't hold grudges.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for clarifying that. But so after that, I was very disappointed. And I think a lot was going on in life in that season, waiting to find a job after uni and all that. So I started seeking God, like for real, now I was like, I cannot turn to people again.
Yeah.
Like they have nothing, like they have something to offer, but not what my soul needs. Like it feels like my heart wanted something more.
Yeah.
So it was at that point that I was like, this is more, like I want more of God.
Yeah.
And my sister's friend, she visited us and she forgot her Bible at home, a small Bible. And I just started reading it. I was like, what? Like, it's like my eyes were open.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was peace away from the clique because now we were like uni was over. It's like, you mean you can have peace away from like friends?
Yeah.
So it's just like God just started working in me even after that. Yeah.
And so it's funny you say that because I'm thinking that at home you've had the Bible. I'm sure
all my life, like since class 1, isn't that a Kenyan thing? You go to school with a Bible. Yeah.
In fact, one of the requirements sometimes I think as you're going into high school is you need to have your Bible.
Yeah.
But it takes your sister's friend to leave her Bible behind for you to pick it up and read it. Yet you've had it in your house the whole time.
My sister's friend and a broken heart. My heart was
that had been broken
at that time. But it's interesting. I think this is something I've been thinking about of late. So I think I'm jumping the gun, but with exposure to Western countries, you realize that knowing God is not just head knowledge. And many Kenyans, we have CRE.
Yeah.
We have CRE.
Yes.
But that does not necessarily translate to a relationship with God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's now that you've brought it up.
Yeah.
So you got the chance to go to travel abroad, and which I think is also like a faith story.
Yeah.
How did that come about? I mean, you finished with Strath, you've sorted your relationship with God. Now you guys are in a good space.
Yeah.
So how did you end up traveling abroad?
Yeah. So after Strath, I feel like in my career, God has always given me favor.
That's amazing.
So I got a job. Like I graduated on Friday. On Monday, there was a call.
Wow.
Yeah. And so when I had gone for this interview, I said I did marketing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to join the marketing function. But they told me in this organization, sales is stronger and you'll grow. And it's the core function. Yeah. So join sales. Consider joining sales. And, that might be a great opportunity. And by faith, I was like, I don't have anything else to do. Let me just join sales. So I did join the sales department, and sales was hard. Because what was I selling? Safes, money safes. So banks were my clients, banks and individuals, like really rich. For you to have a safe, like the big safes that will bring a lot of money. So these were like very rich people, like the affluence was on another level.
Yeah.
And you don't come by them every day.
Yeah.
So now I look back, then I used to vent and cry a lot. But now that was what God used to build my prayer life, which now became instrumental later on.
Yeah.
Because sales can make you pray. Like every day I'm on my knees. God, I need clients. Because our organization was not also, it was a great organization, but our boss, like he really pushed us. And I don't think it's a bad thing now. Like now, then I thought it was, I was like, which life is this?
Yeah.
Like life is so hard. But that faith was also something that sales was also something that strengthened my faith. But also the flexibility in sales allowed me to, like, for example, join K Crew, which was something I was very grateful for.
Yeah.
So something else that worked a lot for me in my early 20s was kujituma, in the sense that I did all the programs I could do at that time.
Yeah.
Alabastron, Purity and Purpose, just trying to find who I am, being mentored, writing,
Yeah.
and all these things. They just ended up like opening opportunities, like solid opportunities later on in life. So I think that's something that really worked for me. And after about 3 years of working, I just started having a desire to go specifically to the UK. And like it's like this desire could not be quenched completely. Like it's like something had just shifted, like a season had shifted.
Yeah.
And in that time, my supervisor, like in the sales job, he sent me to the embassy, like to the UK embassy. I'm like, okay, interesting. So I go there, only wanting to run his errands, And I just meet this lady there. I didn't even know her. And I told her how, like, I just expressed my desire to want to go to the UK.
Yeah.
But I also told her how it's I find it hard to do the applications because it's so rigorous, competitive and all that. And she was like, pray about it, like pray about everything. That's all she told me. And it changed everything. Because now from there, it was all prayers. Like, God, I want to go, but also show me where to go.
Yeah.
So I'm on the computer looking for universities, but first, like, you pray. As I'm searching, I'm just praying and asking God to guide me and show me. And I can't even remember how I came across the uni that I went to. It was in Scotland, the University of Edinburgh. But I saw it. They had a course that felt relevant to, like, Kenya, because it was a master's in international business and emerging markets. So that is what attracted me, because I didn't want to just go and get like you can go and get an MBA, it's fine. But for me, I thought it's important for me to do something that will be relevant even to my economy. Yeah. So just by faith, again, like, I don't even have I'm not even thinking ahead, just one step at a time. I saw it, I applied, and they kept quiet. And it's funny, like, this desire was so strong that I would send them emails and be like, when are you going to respond? Like, I kept on asking. And I think maybe once or twice they just told me to wait a bit. And for somehow I got accepted. But it's funny because the day before I got the acceptance, I was on a mat on my way back to Strath. Because I was like, okay, this season I want to go back to school. That's what I feel in my heart. But I just started talking to God, and I was like, I can't imagine. Like, I was not complaining. It was more like, I never knew that I will go back to Strath. Like, I thought that season was over, and it was over completely. But as I'm having this conversation, someone passes by, like, literally, and I'm in a matatu, and that has gone Mekambela. I was not seated at the front. And he has this, like, t-shirt. It was a blue, I'll never forget, it was a blue t-shirt written the University of Edinburgh. I saw it so clearly. It's like it was zoomed to my eyes.
Strath.
And I'm on my way to Strath. And it was zoomed so, like, I saw it so clearly. I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like, I want, like, and I just let it go. So the next day, literally, when I think I had come from work a bit early. And nafanya exercise or something, and my parents had just come in. And I just check my tablet and I see an email from the uni. Congratulations, you've been admitted. I was like, what? I was like, I know this is God. It was so, I was like, God, like, this is God. Like, there's no way that this cannot be. So now you get the admission letter, and then you realize, like, there's another reality. Finances.
School fees. And it's in the pounds. And,
you know, like, as soon as I got it, I like, my parents were there. They were there when I saw my email. So I shared it with them, and they said, this you cannot afford. And to me, I was like, I know if you guys will afford, you will have, like, you will take me. So I didn't have grudges. But what I told them was, this has given me confidence to do other things in life. I forgot God's voice. I forgot how God had been leading me. I was just like, this cannot be possible. So I continued with Strath, because on that day when I went to Strath, I applied for a course. I even started it. And I was like, this story for UK is,
It's not happening.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. But 1 year later, as God will have it, like just things worked out.
You were able to raise the school fees.
I was able to raise it, and I did travel. Yeah. Imagine I was able to raise it after 1 year. My dad just sacrificed.
Yeah.
And I was able, and they said, and I think for me, I was content with Strath, honestly. Yeah. And I was like, it's a good program that I'm taking. It's giving me exposure. I don't think that I have to do something else. Yeah. But towards now the next year, towards because the school agreed to push it for 1 year when I told them that I didn't have the finances. So towards the admission date, maybe a month or two, my dad is like, just go, consider going. Like the exposure that you'll get from living abroad will be so great. Like it will be more than just academics. It will be seeing life from another lens. And I mean, he convinced me, but I was not convinced.
And this was going to be your first time to travel outside Kenya?
Yeah, to leave Kenya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What month were you going
September,
to travel?
September.
Okay, so they just finished with their summer.
Yeah.
And their summer that really does not summer.
There's no summer in the UK.
No, especially not in Scotland.
Not in Scotland.
Yeah. So how was it when you got to Scotland? You've gone to, and this is an incredible university. I wish people know the University of Edinburgh.
Yeah, it's number one in Scotland.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they'd argue with, University of Glasgow.
No. No. It was quite an experience. I remember, so I think maybe something I should say that I really appreciated was the church community.
Yeah.
Like they came to our house the day before. My Sunday school, I used to teach Sunday school.
Yeah.
So that community, they came home, and they prayed, and guys were telling me, you need to be strong. I was like, mnabaki Kenya, you're the ones to be strong. Because for me, I was in a bubble. I thought, I just thought it's going to be like the movies, Yeah. So I think that's something very significant, that every time I've had to travel, people come home and they really pray.
Yeah.
And a good word is preached. And I remember one of the things that my friend told me when I was going to Scotland was, I don't know where the verse is from, but for I am not ashamed of the gospel.
Yeah.
For it is the power of God unto salvation.
Romans 1:16.
And it stayed in my heart. That's because so I knew that I had already been prepared that I'm going to a different land.
Yeah.
And people will challenge my faith. And this is my opportunity to show Christ.
Yeah.
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 And I can't say that I was equipped. It was just words, just people telling you things, but nothing practical.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I get to Scotland. First of all, I got the taxi driver, I could not understand what he was saying.
He's speaking English, but
it's English, but it's not English.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, take me to the supermarket. And he agreed. So before we got to the accommodation, we stopped by. And that lady, she had this deep Scottish accent. I did not hear anything. And that's when I was like, what have I done to myself? I could not understand anything. Then I get to the accommodation. I think I was now the reality had begun to sink. This is I'm not home anymore. This is a new world. Yeah. And then immediately you notice that there are no black people. There are black people, but there are no black people. Yeah. It's you see a black person. When I used to see, black people in Scotland used to say hi to each other, which was very strange for me.
I see you.
Yeah.
You also
I'm
here.
What? This, it was like that.
Yeah.
But, and even that notion for black and white, it's very strange for us Africa. Well, for me, it was very strange.
Yeah.
Because there's no black and white. I've grown up in a culture where we are all the same color.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think anyone will discriminate you based on your skin color in Kenya. I mean, we have issues like colorism, and I'm not trying to downplay them because I've experienced that. But I won't be denied an opportunity, or someone will not ill-treat me because they don't like my skin color. Yeah. So, I mean, I get to Scotland, I realize it's a very different world. Yeah. And even something I say is that if you're middle class here, then you go to the West, it's really I think it's very humbling, because I entered my room in Scotland.
Mhm.
I was like, what? It was so tiny. I was like, you know, this was not my vision. This was not my dream. This is not what I perceived. I thought
Yeah.
I was going to the, high lane and fast life
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
everything bigger, everything better. But no, it was very different. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How did you adjust to the seasons?
So I think something funny that I have to tell you is
Mhm.
one day, like I woke up and there was a bit, like there looked like there was sun outside.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, it's sunny. And I just went out. It's such a wrong. Like, so now with time I understood why people check the weather. Because I was like, unaangalia tu nje.
Ask
And
guys,
you know,
yeah.
and you know what to do. Like you can predict.
Yeah.
No, it was not like that.
My kids call it the cold sun.
Oh my God, it is the cold
It is the
sun.
cold sun because you
Yeah.
can see it, but you don't
Yeah,
feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did I adjust to the seasons?
Mhm.
I don't even think I noticed that, any adjustment was happening because school was very intense.
Mhm.
Like once we got into school, that was it. Like
Yeah.
we were in school maybe from 9. Like for me, I was an early riser. So maybe sometimes from 7
Mhm.
to 8 p.m. It was very intense.
So you could go to school at some point, like when it's dark, because it can be
Yeah.
8 o'clock in the morning and
Yeah.
it's still dark
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
And at 4 p.m.,
Yeah.
it's dark again.
Yes.
So you could go to school and not get to experience any
No.
daylight.
Yeah, but not in September. I think in September.
Like as you head towards January, February, December,
yes,
January,
yes,
February, yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, I think I don't think the weather was such a big, or maybe it was, I just can't remember.
Mhm.
But I think schoolwork was so intense that you
Okay.
didn't have time for all those things. But I was always in my big jacket, like extra large jacket compared to everyone else.
Yeah.
And there was this other African man. I think he was in the school of like African studies or something. I used to notice him because of the size of our jackets. Like I had to see him.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I understand. Yeah.
I know what you're going through.
Yeah. And I think some of it was also psychological.
Yeah.
Because you already know that this place is cold.
Yeah.
Because I remember even the first days I'd go to class, there's heating in the class,
Mhm.
but my mind is telling me that it's cold. So I'd still stay in my big jacket.
Yeah.
And I'm sure my classmates were just like, this girl is weird.
Ha!
But yeah.
I'm sure they did understand. So how long were you in Scotland for?
One year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's for your masters now.
Yes.
What happened after your masters? Or during your
Yeah.
maybe there's something I'm skipping, like during your stay in Edinburgh,
Yes.
what was that like for you? I mean, it's a very secular country.
Yes.
It's a country that was huge in terms of even propagating the gospel and coming here into Africa and start, like, I think from a Presbyterian background, which is who I am.
Yeah.
At least that's how I was raised up. That was the Church of Scotland. They came to bring that.
Yeah.
Now you've gone to a country that shipped the gospel to us, but now it's
Yeah.
very secular, like extremely secular.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
It was hard.
Mhm.
I was not. That's what I keep saying, and I wish there was more preparation in the African church, because I believe that right now Africa is the largest Christian population,
Yeah.
like the continent with the largest Christian population, and with that, God expects something from us, that we have to take the gospel.
Yeah.
And it's so hard. It's sad that Africans don't believe that they can take, and I know I'm stereotyping,
Yeah.
which is wrong. But just from my own experiences, like people go to the West and they, like, life shatters them.
Yeah.
And they forget that they're ambassadors of Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they're there, that it's not, because for me, things that I've never been insecure about, like my accent, all of a sudden you become insecure. Imagine you're like, because every time you speak, you're like, what's that accent? Where are you from? So, my goodness. And for real, like sometimes I don't even know how to explain. I don't know what happens.
Yeah.
I think it's just part of the culture shock. But I think we should be equipped enough to know that the gospel, like people need Christ more than you need to be comfortable, more than you need to be acceptable.
Yeah.
And the same way that missionaries left the UK and came here and they were willing to die. Some people even came with their coffins to Africa. They were willing to pay the cost. Even for us, sharing the gospel will have some sort of death.
Yeah.
Death to self, that is in this case. Yeah. But, it was not an easy experience. I didn't know how to share my faith. I was very clueless because most of my classmates were not believers.
Yeah.
So every time I look back at that experience, sometimes I feel like I wasted a chance to share the gospel. I remember so all my roommates were from China, like all my, by the way, this experience was wild. All my flatmates were Chinese. I was the only African amongst them.
Yeah.
And I remember inviting my next door neighbor to church, and she asked me, what is a church? So you can imagine.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like, what do you mean, what is a church? She never got to come with me to church.
Yeah.
I don't know. At first she said she would come, but she never came. So I wondered whether my approach was wrong.
Maybe
like,
she Googled.
Like what?
What is a church?
maybe.
And then she looked around to see what the churches that are around, and she's like, maybe not.
Yeah. So it was that. So Scotland was that shocking for me.
Yeah.
Or we'd been in class, and I think one of my class research methods, and the lecturer is like, religion is something people believed in before science, before the Enlightenment. So for me, I'm like, hey, na huku watu wamenifuata Facebook. I'm always posting about religion. Like.
But say religion is the opium of the masses.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah.
But they say that, yet when you look at Scotland and the UK in general, even just the suicide statistics, like there's no life. There's no life in the, like when I say, and I'm not being mean about it, and I hope I'm not being insensitive about it, but I think for me also what living in the West has done for me, it has redefined what true riches are.
Yeah.
Like what does it mean to be rich? And what do you really need as a human being? Because the material will fail eventually.
Yeah.
And when it fails, people check out because they have nothing to hold on to. Yeah. So it's just lies. Like you see how the enemy, and this is a discussion that I was having yesterday with someone from New York, how like so the Westerners, their mind is how they experience God. And I think it's awesome. There's a lot we can learn from them.
Yeah.
Like how they study the word, how they go deep, how they reveal Jesus through just the word, for me was so powerful. Yeah. But also, you see the thing that sometimes it's what God has blessed us with that is also a curse, because it's also with that mind that many Westerners reject God, because they say it's not logical. I cannot see it. It's not scientific.
Yeah.
I cannot explain it. So
it's not 1 + 1.
It's not 1 + 1 = 2. So it does not exist.
Yeah.
Which is such a shame.
Yeah.
Such a shame.
I mean, you're saying, being in that place, it's in your Christian faith, you're going to be extremely tested, or challenged, because it's a very secular space. And for them, science gives the answers to the challenges that people are facing, be it about when it comes to health or these new discoveries, they're explained in a scientific way. For me, I'm at the place where I'm like, science proves the very existence of God. It does not disapprove him, because you're like, oh my gosh, he actually did this. Oh, this is actually what happened for this thing to be able to come to become a reality. So for me, I'm really blown away when I look at science and the discoveries that they come up with.
Yeah.
But for them, for some people, they're like, that's a reason to show that God does not exist. Which is, if you're not in a place where your faith is very solid, where your relationship with Jesus is very tight, your faith can be shaken. And sometimes we have had people who've traveled and they're like,
they lose their faith.
You lose your faith in the process.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting you say that, because I'll come back to that point. But what I wanted to say, for me, just like you've said, Scotland tested what I believe in.
Yeah.
You know how you say, I believe in you, Jesus, and then you're put in a test, and a hard time reveals what you truly believe in. And for me, it's not that I was strong and saying, my faith cannot be shaken. No. After those classes, after leaving a class where a lecturer will say such things, I'd go and pray and tell God, please keep my faith.
Wow.
Because it does not, I used to say, and it is in the Bible, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose their soul? So what does it profit me to come here, gain a world-class education, and then go back home without the very essence of life, and that is Jesus. So I really prayed a lot in Scotland, and God heard my prayers. Yeah, because this was also my first time living away from home. And the enemy will like put lies in my mind, like, you can do anything, no one will know.
Yeah.
Like, you're far from home. Like, jiwachilie.
Yeah.
You know, do your best thing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there was such a conviction that God is with me and God is watching.
Yeah.
And I don't even know where, like, honestly, the Holy Spirit is at work in us. Like, that's the confidence that I have. Because I can't even say that I was very mature in my faith at that time. But, like, there was just a covering of God. Because I don't think you can survive those anywhere, even Kenya anyway. I don't think you can survive the faith without, like, God's covering and God's protection. And prayer is so essential. Like, unfortunately, even in the Western church, and that's something that I was open even to them, the prayer life is not, I don't feel like it's highlighted as much.
Yeah.
You know, I don't feel like compared to here. So the same way I'm saying that I feel like we could go deeper in the word as Africans and as Kenyans, again, stereotype.
Yeah.
And forgive me for that. Is the same way, again, stereotype. I feel like they could go deeper in the place of prayer.
Yeah.
So when you go there and you realize that people are not praying, don't stop praying. Like, don't lose that. Like, I feel like prayer is it like oil that we Africans have, and it's needed.
Yeah.
So don't go there and be like, oh, just because the church is, you know, chill and people are praying like simple, nice, well put together prayers, then let me flow. No, don't flow. Don't flow. You pray fervently. Like, be real with your God. Like, that desperation, God responds to desperation, you know, and he knows when we are seeking him in spirit and in truth.
Yeah.
And I've also come to know that when God puts you, because the Bible says that God predestined the good works that we need to walk in. So it's not an accident that I am there with my personality, with my culture, with my experiences.
Yeah.
So as much as of course, there's an element of adaptation that we need as Christians. Like Paul said, I became all things so that I can win them to Christ. So there's that element. But I think there's also an element of our uniqueness that God allows us to take into these spaces.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of how hard things can get abroad, you know, people just like, you know, you want to reject your whole culture and take up their own so that you can fit in, so that you're not too different.
Yeah.
But fact is, once a foreigner, always a foreigner. Just embrace that you're now not in your space and not in your country. Yeah.
How did you, for many people, you know, guys who could be watching this, they could be like, man, Vero, you got to go to the UK at such a young age and, you know, you came back. You know, haungebaki mazee in the UK.
You know, I think also, anyway, so I wanted to say something else.
Go ahead.
Okay.
It's a free space,
before we get there, so when I went to the UK, I thought that, and I had even promised myself this. I was like, I've served enough in the Kenyan, like in my church in Kenya. So now I'm just going to receive, then maybe bring it back. For real, that was my kind of thinking. Like, me, I'm just going to this nation to eat the land, you know, and enjoy and learn and grow, and then, you know, come back as this. I don't know what, I just imaginary world for real. Then one day when I was in a season of struggling, like it was hard, but I didn't understand where I was struggling. See, you guys threw for me a bash before I left.
Yeah.
Saying I was going to like my dreams were coming true. Am I struggling?
Yeah.
I could not comprehend where I was struggling. So I'm in church and I meet this man, and he tells me how he's waiting to I think interpret dreams for someone and he was a Scottish man. So, and I think he also told me that he's gifted in prophecy. Honestly, I just look at him right now and I'm like, tell me what God is saying.
But at that time?
Because I was struggling.
Okay.
So I look at
so
him.
You really were desperate to hear.
Yeah, I'm like, tell me, what is God saying?
Yeah.
So he closes his eyes, he prays. Then he didn't know me. So he tells me, God knows that he brought you out of your comfort zone. Something along these lines. God knows that he brought you out of your comfort zone. And it's not easy, but he brought you here because people do not know him here. So you're here to tell people about God. What? I was like, okay, God set me up, because that was not my plan at all. Like, I thought I was just coming to live my best life now and then go back to Kenya. And, you know, like, there's nothing I had to do for that word to come to pass. Like, I just continued in my walk. And I ended up leading a Bible study in the business school. Like people would come every Tuesday to the business school for Bible study. So I co-led a small group with someone else like from the UK. His name was James, and a very precious friend of mine up to date. So, I mean, I'm just saying all this to say that God led me there for his work. Like it was not, yes, education was important. But now, and I'm not saying that we should not grow in terms of our career, but now in the light of what God has shown me in terms of the gospel, and now that I'm reading my Bible more, I realize that all of the New Testament is about the gospel. All of it. The gospel of Jesus Christ. And that is where the power for people to be saved is. So for me nowadays, I don't look at these opportunities as the end in themselves. For me, they are doors to access people that Jesus is trying to reach and to bring out of the kingdom of darkness.
That's such a good perspective. Such a good perspective. How was it now when you transitioned from the UK coming back? Was that a difficult struggle? Or are you like, hey, let me first go to my comfort zone now again in Kenya?
Let me tell you. I think after Scotland, I stayed with my auntie for like 6 months in London now, Luton, which is near London. So I moved from Scotland to England, and I could not wait to go back home. I could not wait. I think Scotland was just hard. You know, that experience, like I've never been in a class where like white people sit on this side, Chinese people sit on that side.
Oh, you guys never used to mingle?
We mingled, but there were cliques in class, And I don't think, like maybe I'm trying to defend, but what I mean is that I think sometimes cliques, they come, like even like everyone is struggling, so everyone is trying to find like their source of community. So it's not, I'm not saying it's racist necessarily, it's just what we are used to. And moving abroad is already hard, so people cling on to the familiar. So there was no other, like the other person who was African in my class. Okay, I should not put quotations because he'll fight me. He's a good friend of mine now. He was German. Like Ghanaian, but he grew up in Germany. So that was the close. So he was Western, though he doesn't like it when I say that, but he was Western, heavily Western. So I was the only like African, real African. It was me. It was. So just navigating through those spaces, not knowing when you've offended, you know, other people not knowing when someone is being offensive to you or they're just being truthful. It was just a hard space to navigate. So after that, I was like, God, thank you. I know I prayed for this. And then again, being away from family. That's a major one. Being away from my family and my friends, my support system. After that experience, I was just like, thank you, God. I will never do this again. I said, you know what? I appreciate that you allowed me to have this opportunity. But I'm fine with Kenya. Like, Kenya is good. I'm glad to have a home.
Oh, man. Then you came back to your spacious bedroom.
I came back to... No, and it's not very spacious, but a bit more spacious bedroom, a bit more spacious
Familiar
house.
Familiar
food.
Family, friends.
Like, just you go to a restaurant and you don't need to be, like, keen on what's going on around you. Like, you're just free over here. Like, I'm not too, like... cautious or conscious.
No oversized jacket.
No jackets. Hey, no jackets.
And so you came back to Kenya, and I remember one time you came to the Kikri Bible study and you gave a testimony about how you were leaving again now to go to New York. And I was like, this is such an incredible testimony. Do you want to tell us what happened?
So I come back home again. So after Scotland, after now that UK experience, I came back home with a broken heart.
Another one.
Another one. And, you know...
It's like Strathmore University,
it's like after
heart.
Every season.
University of Edinburgh.
Maybe I'm calling it but let me say maybe overwhelmed. Like I don't know how to process.
Were they unmet expectations?
I think you're right. Unmet expectations. But also just the reality of what the world is. I didn't notice the inequality as much as I noticed it recently. That was not a big deal for me. Black Lives Matter happened when I was in the UK the first time. I could not believe it. Like, when I say I could not believe it...
this was in 2020.
2020, because I was there during the pandemic. I remember immediately it happened. I thank God for the church that I went to. And by the way, that's also something else that's very major when people are going abroad that I'd emphasize, like, pray and let God show you where to go.
Yeah.
Like, don't lead yourself to a church based on what you see online, based on the music that they produce. Do not, because like for me, both times, because I had my own church that I wanted to go to in Scotland.
Yeah.
God gave me a church right from here to go to through preparation. Like he prepared me, and I felt it in my secret place that go to this specific church.
Yeah.
And before I went to New York as well, God gave me a specific church. And it makes a difference when God has led you.
Yeah.
It really does. Yeah. But just going back to Black Lives Matter. So I remember after it happened, like our youth director, he reached out to me and he asked me in the church, they're like, we want to make people more aware of these issues.
Yeah.
So would you be willing to speak up? I was like, no. And the reason I said no, it's because I'm like the reality of a Black person in Kenya and the reality of a Black person in the UK, in America, is very different.
Yeah.
Like our experiences are so different.
Yeah.
And I felt like if I had been given that opportunity to speak, I would have undermined, because for me, I was like,
struggles.
Yeah, there are struggles, or I would have been like, peace and all that.
Yeah.
No, like it was because I was added to like a WhatsApp group, not a WhatsApp group, a Facebook group. And because of what was going on, people were allowed to vent and share their experiences, like what they had gone through in the UK. It was so sad.
Wow.
It was so, how people say like there's no racism in the UK? There's racism in the UK. There is. And I think that's something people need to be prepared for as well, especially as a Christian.
Yeah.
When you see, and I think that's part of the reason that every time I come back from the West, I'm a bit angry because I see how divided, like how unequal the world, like it's an angle of justice and injustice, and not just in terms of Black Lives Matter, no, but also like as an African, some people don't have enough to eat, Well, you see food being thrown away and wasted on the other hand. And again, this is not necessarily about Western, because even in Kenya, like there are some of us who are overly privileged and there are others who do not have. But I think when you're walking those shoes, like when you're a minority and you're vulnerable, then you somehow, like it's real now to you because you're experiencing it, it's a bit real. So I think after Black Lives Matter happened, and COVID, just many hard things at a go. I was really overwhelmed when I came back home. But I thank God because in my being overwhelmed, I didn't turn to, like God put people in my space who helped me to turn back to God. And there was such a fervency in me to know the Lord at that time. But also like something that I'll always celebrate about Scotland, I felt like I really grew in the knowledge of the word. Again, a strength that I attribute to the West. Like there's something about knowing Jesus, knowing the word so plainly. Hatuongezi, hakuna kuongeza, and there's no mixture, just the word and allowing it to work patiently. So I feel like with that revelation and the prayer life here, it was, like there was just something that was boiling inside of me at that point. But what I didn't know was that God was actually preparing me to go to New York. Because in that time, I was not working, and no, I'm not saying the truth. I came home and got a job almost immediately through a network, but it was consultancy. Again, just what I worked on in the UK, gave them my dissertation, and they were like, oh, actually, it aligns with what our organization does. That's what I mean, a network. And it just opened like for me consultancies. But I was like, God, I'm longing for something more stable because now I want to move out and all that. And in that season, I was also like, I cannot make a move unless God directs me. I don't want to do anything without like God's leading. So I just saw this role on LinkedIn. And when I saw it, it looked so perfect. Like it looked like it aligned with my goals, with my desires. And I told God, I see it, but I'm not sure if it's my flesh, because like the prestigious organization and all that, or it's you actually like prompting me. So I'm going to leave it. And because you're God, if you want me to apply for it, you'll make it clear to me. I don't think 24 hours were over before my friend sent the same role to me.
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay, God, I see that you're calling me into this role. And something that was major in that time in my life that I've said was prayer. So I was about to finish one consultancy. I had already marked in my calendar that I would go to Heaven's Gate, the prayer center, and pray, then come back and apply.
Yeah.
So I do all that. I finish what I need to finish here, go to Heaven's Gate, just seek the Lord. Nothing about the role, nothing about work. But when I was there, like God starts speaking to me about like the World Bank. And I'm like, me. Moving on. But I wrote, like, that's faith. Like, may I just write? And I just, because I'm like, I'm not sure if it's me or if it's God.
Yeah.
But it just felt like he was saying something around such organic, and it was so clear. Anyway, so I just put it aside. The role, though, was not at the World Bank. It was at UNDP, United Nations Development Program. So I come back and I just start applying. But what was interesting was when I started applying, I realized that they wanted so much from me, like references, so many things. And I didn't, and the deadline was, because I thought it was going to be an easy application, like one day kind of thing, CV, cover letter, move on. But they wanted a whole concept paper. It was a rigorous application.
Oh, wow. And
the deadline was, I think, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. And this is like Monday, I'm coming back home. I said, God, I cannot do it. Like, there's no way this can happen within this short span. So, and I started feeling as if it's tied to my identity pressure. I left it. I was like, you know what, moving on. But the next day I wake up and I have this worship song in my heart, like by Sisi. And I don't know how, like, one worship song ended up being into a whole day of worship. And during that time, I just find, like, I keep saying that the Spirit of God came upon me because I started telling God, as long as you want me in that role, I will be there.
Yeah.
You're God, you have control,
Yeah.
even if it means you moving the deadline and all that.
Yeah.
But long story short, the deadline was moved. Like, God just moved. Like, the deadline was moved. I applied. There were dreams before I went. In fact, I saw my contract. I keep saying that before the next stage of the interview after applying, I decided to seek the Lord because they were quiet and I had felt that the Lord was leading me. I had felt that up to the application point, God had led me.
Yeah.
So I took time, like 3 days, to pray and fast and ask God, is this, like, I felt that you had led me to this role, but do you want me to wait or do you want me to, like, now start applying to other places? I was that intentional in my work with him.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I dreamt, I saw congratulations, like my contract, even before the next stages of the interview. So after that, we just continued by faith, like just kept on going. And honestly, like, I think there was a day I had gone for a walk and God put it in my heart that I'm going to give you that role. And it's not going to be about skills. It's going to be for my glory.
Yeah.
And I strongly believe that because, and I'm not undermining the skills and the abilities that God has given me, but over 5,000 African women applied for that role.
Wow.
And only 32 of us were taken. And 7 of us were posted to New York.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were one of the 7.
How? How? Like, those are things that God does in our lives. And you're like, me najijua, God.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
This was your hand.
Yeah. You can't brag about it.
I cannot brag about it. I'd be lying. This was God. Like, this was the hand of God. And this was God giving himself glory through my life. This was not about skills at all. Yeah.
The guys who can listen to you speak and be like, hey, apana maze, this does not even sound real. But it's the faith that you have that clearly is coming out. And just your belief, your belief in God, and you have this strong belief in him, and that is almost unshakable. But I guess it's something that you've developed over a period of time.
Yeah, it's shakeable. It's unshakable because of Jesus. Yeah. But me, I'm shakeable.
You're shakeable. Hey. But the firm belief that you have is so strong.
Jesus, yeah.
Because of how you've been able to experience him. And I think, and don't look down on this, I think you just have that desire to be strongly anchored in him as well.
Amen.
Which is fantastic. So how was it in New York?
New York was fun. New York was different. So I think now I was a bit wiser.
Yeah.
So now when people say be strong, I'm like, okay, yes, I need to. Also, I cried out to God a lot before I left. like, Lord, use me. Because now I'm smart. I know that God does not take you to these places for
Just
yourself.
For you, yeah.
It's not about you, it's about Him.
Yeah.
So I was a bit more prepared. So prayer again. Prayer is what held me.
Yeah.
Prayer is what held me, because I went to New York, and New York was different though. It felt like God was giving me rest. Like,
Yeah.
it was just like I want, like, I don't know, I don't even know how to explain that season. Just wonderful.
Yeah.
Like, there was so much grace both in the office. I had so much love for my colleagues in the office. I had so much favor in the church. Like, God gave me so much favor. I just felt so welcome and embraced, and that made a difference.
Yeah.
So New York was very missional for me, let me say that, because as soon as I got there, I knew that God had sent me there. And the people He even connected me to in those spaces, they believed in me, and they didn't know me.
Yeah.
Of course, now later from other experiences, I realized that it was only because of God's grace and God's hand.
Yeah.
Not because
favor,
of me, not because of charisma, nothing, just Jesus.
Yeah.
So I served the young adults community when I was there. I served the church there a lot through prayer. I was always thinking about how the kingdom can come. Like, I was in the subway and I'm like, who can I evangelize? Like, how can I evangelize?
Yeah.
And there are days I used to feel like, just stand up, be bold and share. But imagine I never got the courage to do that. Well, at that time, and later on I did, but at that time I never had like the courage to stand up and share the gospel. But I was very missional. That's all I can say. Like, I served. I don't know if I've ever. So that's the other thing with living abroad, that whatever you put your hands to, because you're not distracted by family or friends. So if it's school, you're all in. Yeah, because that's what I experienced when I was in Scotland. I was all in school, all in church. But now New York, like, I was all in church.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very committed. Yeah.
And how long were you in New York for?
Almost 2 years. Yeah.
And so again, you're there for almost 2 years.
Yes.
And your contract is now coming to an end.
Yeah.
How are you feeling at that point? Or are you again like, Lord, I'm ready to come back home?
But maybe before we get to the end of that, like, I've just remembered some significant miracles that God did for me when I went to New York.
Yeah.
Just to show that was a season of favor. First of all, I know you're a music person.
Yeah.
So I got to see like CC Winans, Elevation, Maverick, Todd Dulaney, like all those people. And it was just like, wow, like these are people I used to watch in my room.
In your TV.
Pale Doni, and then now they're just like here. It was so like glorious on that end.
Yeah.
But also like, this lady who did not even know me, but she was my uncle's friend. Like, I just, like, I called to find out, like, how should I prepare for New York?
Yeah.
She's like, come to my house. Like, what do you mean? How do you come? I'll host you. This lady even gave me, like, her credit cards. The first, just opened, like, bought clothes. As in, it was just something else. Like, it was just favor and love. I could not and we had such peace together.
Yeah.
Like, in that house. Like, she was just so warm and welcoming. And how I got my first, so I stayed with her. That was the first place I stayed, and we agreed 1 month.
Yeah.
And in that culture, 1 month is 1 month. Yeah. Towards the end, I was like, can I just stay longer? Like, I started having those, fear, like the fear of now, like, going to experience New York alone.
Yeah.
And she was like, we agreed 1 month, and I understood. I was like, if she's saying this, because my eyes were not on her, my eyes were on Jesus. Like, this could be God asking me to move somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for accommodation, nothing. It's not easy to get accommodation.
Yeah.
It's not, because they want things like credit ratings, things you don't have.
Yeah.
So it's just another ball
just
game.
walking. I mean, there's so many houses to let.
Moz. Yeah. Anyway, so one day, like, I go to church. So actually, on a Friday, a colleague of mine, like, me and my colleague, we had gone to see, like, houses. I get there, they have, like, I get into the house. I think I'm sensitive, like, spiritual. You can sense what's in the atmosphere sometimes.
Yeah.
Hey, we get to this. Kwanza, on our way to that neighborhood, I meet someone who has, like, a bag that's blaspheming Jesus. There was just this man abusing his wife in the train. Like, it just felt like there was a lot of darkness.
Yeah.
Then I get to this house and I just find, like, an LGBTQ flag, like, inside their house. And I was so disturbed.
Yeah.
not. I know these are sensitive topics, but like for me, I'm just being honest that I was just very disturbed. Like I was like, where will I live? You know? Anyway, I said, you know what? I'm surrendering this issue to God. But that day I went back home.
Yeah.
Because now I feel like something that God has enabled me to see that can get lost in the beauty and the materialism when you go to the Western world is seeing beyond the material. If you're in the word, if you're in the word of God, you'll feel it. Like you'll feel the darkness of the world, regardless of how nice it looks. You know, regardless of how someone is made up.
Yeah.
When you interact with them, you can feel the death. Honestly, you can feel it. So that's what I experienced on that Friday. So on Sunday, I go to church and I've just surrendered this whole accommodation issue to God. I had seen a house online, tried to reach out to them. They were not responding.
Yeah.
So I told God, I won't worry, I'll go to church. After church, if you want me to go look for that house, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So after church, I felt led to go and I just went by faith. So this is my Kenyan mind, assuming kwa ploti mnajuana, like I'll get there and ask, do you know this house?
Yeah.
But you know, I went to like this place in Brooklyn and I met this lady, like I'm just standing at the door because I realized that now they have, like you can't even open and just go in. Yeah, it's not like Kenya. Like you can't just wait for someone. No. So I just stand there and I'm like, this is the building because it had an address, but I couldn't locate the exact apartment. So this lady comes and I ask her, by any chance, do you know like this house? And she's like, no, I cannot know this specific house. But it's definitely in this building because the interior was the same. Anyway, long story short, she lets me into the building because I told her, let me just see your house in New York.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me just see your house and see if this is a nice neighborhood that, you know, see if this is somewhere I'd want to live in.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, it's a nice neighborhood. In fact, there's a church nearby. When she said church, I was like, what? Like, this is my kind of person.
Yeah.
So I asked her, like, which church do you go to? And then she said, today I went to the Brooklyn Tabernacle, which is the church I used to go to.
Oh, wow.
And that was her first time ever in that church. But long story short, this lady ended up like leasing her house to me just from that experience.
Oh,
so
man.
So that's how I got my second like accommodation in. Just like that.
This is just a God thing.
A God thing.
Yeah.
A God thing. Completely. Yeah.
And so how was it now for you coming to the end at us? How's that transition, you know, from now New York? The contract is almost coming to an end. UNDP, now you're coming back to Kenya. Was that easier for you?
No, because New York was so like easy.
Yeah.
But then for me, that was a season of rest in many ways.
Yeah.
It was not easy. Easy is the wrong word. Let me just say gracious. Like there was grace to do even the hard things. Yeah. Like I just felt God's favor.
Yeah.
You know, there's feeling it. Like sometimes we just know it's there, but we can't feel it.
Yeah.
But that was a season of like, I know without a shadow of doubt that God is with me and he's just opening all these doors, like whether in the office, whether at church, like it's like everywhere I stepped, a door was just opening. Yeah. So what do you mean, God, you want to take this season away from me? No, I'm not ready. And go. So now New York was the opposite. Yeah, it was the like living New York was not easy. I had to stay. I had built a community. Yeah. You know, I was like, these are my people now. Like, God, goodbye to my Kenyans.
Found a new place.
I found a new place. Yeah. It felt a lot like home. Yeah. Like that season, I can never take away from it. And I knew Jesus more. That's something that I'll always, I don't even have like words to quantify or even qualify that Jesus was so real. Like it was like walking step by step with him. Yeah. No, like one day I'm in the subway, like I just enter the subway and I see this lady dressed in like horns and just, for me, I call it demonic, just plain, like just weird things. And then I feel in my heart, pray for her. And I'm like, okay. So in fact, I wanted to go and sit next to her. Then someone came and like interjected before I sat. So I started praying. I was just like, okay, I'll just continue to pray. Then eventually the person left and I moved closer. I was like, she'll probably think I'm weird, but I was doing it with, you know, a bit of, like, I was a bit, like, she didn't know. I don't think she knew what I was doing. Then we end up alighting at the same place. And I was like, this is not a coincidence. I have to talk to her about Jesus. So I end up talking to her about Jesus. So for me, that season had a lot of God say, like, one time a homeless man, like, go and pray for him. I'm like, no, like, I was so tired. I was from church. I'm like, God,
Yeah.
I'm going home. And I go and pray for him. He ends up going back so I end up going for 2 services, going back with me to church.
Yeah.
So there was just something in that season, like just seeing God's power and God's glory and seeing his heart for all people, like the rich, the poor, the haves and the have-nots, because that's what I feel the exposure was. Because on one hand, you're on this political end, and on the other hand, you're like in the community, you know, serving the people in the shelters. So it was quite the experience.
I like what you're saying, because you just reminded me of a song by a hip-hop artist called The Truth. And he did a song called Jive, Jife, which is Jesus is for everybody. And so sometimes we tend to categorize people and be like, those guys, Jesus cannot love them. Jesus cannot love them. Jesus only likes people or loves people who are of this nature, of this kind. But, when the Bible says that, God demonstrates his own love for us in this, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And anyone who's in Christ, there's neither a Jew or a Gentile, that all of us, we're now part of his family. So he died for all, once and for all. And so, like, even as you're sharing, and, God would allow you to go and speak to someone in the streets or someone in the subway. I think even sometimes as we tend to categorize people and think, even people in the LGBTQ category, you're like, they're human beings at the end of the day.
Yes.
They're people who God loves and who God has chosen to cherish. And, our job is to love people. I think our job is to love people. So, like, I think is in that space and you're feeling that, you experienced Jesus so much and you grew so much in him.
Yeah.
It's like the opportunities it give you to go and pray with someone that feels out of your comfort zone. It's just like, this is who I am to people. I love that you were able to be obedient. And it wasn't easy.
It was not easy. Like, and I believe there are other opportunities that I missed out of fear, for real. I did.
Yeah.
That I'll acknowledge. But looking back, I wish I had the courage to just because what I've seen with God, when you step, like one step of faith, it builds on and it leads to something else.
Yeah.
So obedience, just like obedience has rewards, disobedience also has a cost. Yeah. And so I just, like, now with hindsight, I'm like, what does it matter whether I have an accent or not? Like, those are things that just matter in the moment.
Yeah.
You know what does it matter if someone discriminates against you, but you give them the gospel?
Yeah.
But I think for you to get to that level, you must have a grasp of that eternity is more precious to God than anything.
Yeah.
Anything else, like the eternity of men.
Yeah.
That's what Jesus came for.
Yeah.
Imagine he didn't come for material prosperity.
No.
He didn't come. And that's where I feel like that's where we get it wrong. And just going back to something that you had mentioned, people go to the West and lose their faith. And I think one of the reasons that happens is because of the prosperity gospel, which is a major issue statistically against stereotypes in Africa, that it's like Jesus is a means to an end.
Yeah.
Like there's something beyond Jesus that I pray to Jesus so that he can meet my needs.
Yeah.
Jesus is the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
So without that revelation that, Christ is our all in all, then when you go to that world and you're like, oh, I used to pray for material things. So the material life is easy. Like you're settled.
Yeah.
Like we eat until like there's abundance. Like it's an abundance. Like Kwanzaa America, wow, like there's just another level of excess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you go there, and if the gospel that you are given was God, if you believe in God, then he will do this for you. God will make you great. All that is a lie. Those are lies because, and when I say lies, I mean, like, we are here to glorify Jesus. We are here to make the name of Jesus famous and known. We're not here to make kingdoms of ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm not here to build, because my kingdom will, how many years will it last? Maybe at most 90, 95, if God gives me that grace.
Yeah.
And after that, it's over. But when you have an eternity in mind, then you know that, God might call me to a period of denying myself so that another may, because that's what missionaries did. Yeah. like I deny myself so that people may come to know Christ. And it won't, like the suffering I've gone through will be worth it.
Yeah.
It will be well worth it.
Yeah.
So I don't think everyone will suffer death. We've seen Africans in Congo being killed for their faith. But what I mean is, I don't think like right now, the kind of death that you'll face is necessarily like what people in Scotland went through, physical death. But there will be a lot of death to self that is required when you go to those nations. And I think it's hard, but it's worth it when you look back.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So where you at now?
Where am I now?
You're in the now and in between.
Now and in between.
Yeah.
Last year I served. How many minutes do we have?
Huh?
How many minutes?
I think we have like 5 minutes because
5 minutes. So last year I got to serve as a missionary.
Yeah.
When I say missionary, I mean full-time missions.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah. And just again following the voice of God.
Yeah.
So the church in New York got a burden for Scotland. So you see how the two pieces came together.
Yeah.
So with the church, we went to Scotland to evangelize. And what was supposed to be a 1 week kind of thing for me ended up being like 4 months. Actually, 5 months away from Kenya. And it was not easy. You know, that's something I have to always say.
So you've gone back to doing,
It was not easy.
Yeah.
It was not easy at all. Yeah. And I remember one time just crying out to God. I'm like, I need to go back home. Because I didn't even know when I was going to go back home. We were just in a journey of faith with God.
Yeah.
Like, God, allow me to go back home. It's too hard. And like the song that will come to my heart was how Jesus, like he came from heaven to earth to show us the way.
Yeah.
So he left his comfort zone so that others may be saved.
Yeah.
So that experience for me has defined missions. It has also defined how I see. Like now when I see, I'm just like, are you born again? Even when I was coming here, like the two like taxi and Boda driver that I used, I was like, are you born again?
Yeah.
So now I'm just in a space where I desire that people know Jesus and that people go back to the true gospel of Jesus Christ. That's something that everywhere I go, I open my ears more and I'm like, this is the gospel. This is not the gospel.
Yeah.
And I think we're allowed to do that. Like we are actually called to do that, to sieve between what is the gospel of Jesus Christ and what is not.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I've been exposed to that. And now I'm studying also.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand how, so I'm focusing on Kenyan immigrants, how they can build resilience when they're living in Western nations, because I know it's not easy. I had my own very difficult experience.
Yeah.
And so just trying to understand, because cultures, they clash.
Yeah.
And
two different ways, perspectives of looking at life.
Yeah. But how can we build our resilience? Because when you go to someone's land, I think knowledge will be, when we have the knowledge, we can be more influential and more useful than going there and in our own way and in our own wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how can I maintain my identity but still serve God in another culture and adapt to them so that I'm not offensive, for example, or, you know, or I'm not too like cowardly, because some cultures, like if I don't talk to you eye to eye, it's like, you know, like you're lying.
Yeah.
But in our culture, is it a big deal if I don't look at you? I don't think it's a big deal.
No, I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah. So,
and there are people who are just uncomfortable looking at other people's eyes.
Yeah, but I will not judge them a liar or incompetent or not confident.
Yeah.
Or when someone stammers here, I will not judge them incompetent.
Yeah.
But it's not like that in all cultures. So just learning about us, about them, and hoping that God will do something through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up. So, and I think that's a very interesting research that you're doing. And because clearly right now our government is in the business of negotiating with other governments how we can export labor to their countries. But sometimes when we leave, we're not very well equipped with what to expect on the other end. And like you're saying, how to be able to build resilience. So I think you're onto something. And if it's God who is leading you in that direction, tafadhali, run with it.
Asante.
Run with it.
Asante.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me, Moz. This is
I
a dream
think-
come true.
it's
This
incredible.
we used to watch you with my mom
Uh,
when I think I was in high school or uni when you guys were on, I can't remember which station.
yeah, on Citizen, yeah.
Yeah, but you are so, influential.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I thank God for your life.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm the one who's honored to be here.
No, I'm also honored because you have come you're part of the K Crew Bible study and you've come and you've shared your testimonies, like, like what God has allowed you to be able to experience. And I'm so glad that you've been able to share, because I think for me, a good thread that I've picked up is just how, as you're talking about resilience, how you're resilient. You are resilient in terms of, just choosing to live for God doesn't make it easy. And just that total dependence on God and just desiring to make Jesus known. And I think that Jesus would also be proud to just let him be seen and known through you, because you're at a place where you're like, these opportunities that I have are not about me, but it's about Jesus being seen. And that's a great place to be at.
Santi.
Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you.
Guys, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us for the DJ Moz Podcast. Today, I have had the absolute pleasure to listen to my friend and my sister from the K Crew Bible Study. Her name is Veronica Winja.
Yes. Kabisa.
Yeah. And we've had some really good conversations. And what I want to ask you to do is just go ahead and comment. Let us know what you've picked up. I do love her journey of faith, just seeing how God has been able to work in her and work through her. And, just go ahead and share together with your loved ones as well as sharing with your enemies, because, keep your enemies close. And how you keep them close is by sharing with them good content. Sindio. Thank you so much for your great love. And also do remember, go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. And also, if you can also go ahead and, support us financially as we continue doing this great work of giving you fantastic content online. Sindio. It's all about Jesus 100%. So the details are right here at the bottom of the screen, or maybe I'm going to be blacked out and you're going to have the details there, whichever one it is. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your prayers from Winja and I, or Vero and I. Peace. Asante.